Try and move things along as quickly as possible. It's such a beautiful day, hey? Hopefully everybody got outside for a few minutes. I feel like somebody's got background noise going on there. If somebody maybe got a phone or something that they need to mute.
And you're live.
Okay, so welcome everyone to tonight's BIA Board of Management meeting. It is April 12th. It's just after 7 and we're just about to start. If anybody, can we mute anybody who's not muted? Is it me? Okay, now it's done. Perfect. Oh, it might be me. Is it me? That's that's
paper shuffling.
Where do we? I'm happy to mute, but I don't think there's any noise.
Maybe it's just me. Okay, so tonight's agenda. So I want to go through and make a couple amendments to tonight's agenda while we get started. So the first amendment I'd like to make is under street decor. I'd like to add, just after street cleaning, I would like to add a section 4.1a, I suppose, which is parking, patios, and pedestrians. Did I do that right? And which we're going to hand that over, have a discussion with Tom Patterson, who is got some ideas, and he would really, this is not something that he's presenting to us, but really soliciting our feedback tonight. And so it's more of a discussion that he's looking for in his sort of due diligence that he's working on behalf of council, and wants to know a little bit more about how the Creemore BIA feels about the new patios that are coming out, pedestrians, parking, all kinds of interesting stuff going on that he's got some great ideas. So that I'd like to add. The other thing, I think that's the only thing I would like to add to tonight's meeting. Is there anybody else who has any amendments to the agenda before we go ahead and make a motion to approve? No? Okay, so can somebody make a motion to approve tonight's agenda dated April 12th as presented with the amendment? John, thank you. And motion, Jackie, and all in favor of approving tonight's agenda? Okay, thank you. That's the majority. So we'll say that is carried. I'm going to move through disclosure of disqualifying interest in general nature thereof. If there's anybody with a conflict of interest, raise your hand now, or simply raise your hand at any time, and we can have you leave the meeting or turn your video off. Okay, so we're going to go to the approval of the previous minutes. Would somebody like to make a motion of the last month's minutes, which were dated from May 8th, 2022? Does somebody want to go ahead and make that motion? And then I would look for a seconder as well. John would like to make the motion. And do we have a seconder for the minutes from last month? Jen? Thank you, Jen. All in favor of the approval of the minutes? Okay, great. So that is motion carried. Okay, so now we're going to head right into the fun stuff, which is street decor. We've had a bit of an update on street cleaning. I don't know, Jackie, if you want to sort of update that from Dan, or you'd like me to. Either way, I'm happy if you want to take it away. You're on mute. Mute.
There we go. There we go. We're unmuted. If you want to, Laurie, go ahead.
Okay, so what Jackie and I have been discussing with Township about the street cleaning for the downtown Creemore, because I think, like many of you, I get a lot of questions almost every day when I'm outside from my neighbors, from other businesses, asking about when the streets are going to be cleaned because of the sand on the sidewalks and on the streets. So we've been working with Dan Perot to understand more about what his schedule is. He has committed to 2 street cleanings for 2022. One in the spring and one in the fall. That is what the township is willing to pay for. And so his first one he's proposing is April 19th, which is unfortunately right after Easter. So I was really hoping that they would have it done before the Easter holiday, because for us in a tourist town, that's always really important to have such a beautiful sort of look on our street. And it's unfortunate that it'll happen then. But I do know that they have to rent equipment. I think you guys know the whole song and dance about this, that they have to rent equipment. They no longer own the equipment, blah, blah, blah. So
it's also weather dependent. So.
And weather dependent. Thank you. Yeah, we did mention that. So the other thing is that he mentioned in his email to Jackie and I that if we want to have more street cleanings, we can pay for them ourselves. So it's $135 an hour and he would help us organize it because they have a contract, I suppose, with a company. And so, we could go ahead and pay for it. I'm a little bit frustrated because I feel that the BIA should not be getting into the street cleaning business, but at the same time, I guess if that's the situation, I think we'd rather all have a very clean street because of the debris that falls from the trees, because we do have so many trees and so many of them are fruit trees on Mill Street. We do end up with a lot of debris, as you all know. And that's what really, I think that's what really makes the mess on the sidewalks and on the streets. So I wanted to get your feedback to see if you think you want to put some budget aside for street cleaning or, where your thoughts are. Sarah? Oh, you're on mute. Sorry, I told everyone to mute.
Sorry, unmute. I definitely think that we should look at making certain that our streets are really clean prior to major community events. It's and next year, if we know that this is the case, I would love to make sure that it happens before Easter. But I guess if we could talk to Dan about what he thinks the timeline is. But do we think 3 hours would be sufficient to do the BIA?
Well, I asked him how many hours, and he said if it's just Mill Street, it would be an hour. But I think he didn't factor in Caroline Street maybe when we went in his email. And also, I'm not clear if that's sidewalks and streets. So there's a bit of a follow-up. Actually, John is with Dan at the conference right now in Toronto. Maybe that's something you could mention to him if you happen to be sitting with him at a conference table or at breakfast or something. Because I don't know.
I'm supposed to be sitting with him right now.
Okay, so he isn't joining us tonight. But yeah, those are the questions. He said like an hour, but to me it seems like it would be more than that for 2 streets. And also, I think what the key thing is that we need, John, if you mentioned this to Dan, we really need communication. So we need as much advance warning as possible. If it's a week, we'll take it, but we'd love 2 weeks or 3 weeks out so that every week we could put a notice in the newspaper. We can put little notes on people's cars, which we have all done before, just, the night before or something like that, because now we're getting to the point where people leave their cars on the street all night. And so if people are working from home, they may not move their car in a day or two, and then the streets just don't get cleaned. And if there's a one-time pass and we have to wait for 6 more months, like, you know what I mean? It's very near to my heart here. So
I think Dan kind of made it clear that April 19th weather dependent, and then the last one is usually they wait till all the leaves are down.
Right.
So
sort of said November.
Actual date, but yeah.
Yeah, he did say like late fall, like before the Santa Claus parade kind of thing.
Yeah. So personally, I think we should definitely budget some money to do some street cleaning.
I definitely think we do, because I think I've been to other towns, other tourist towns like ours, and they are gorgeous. And I'm frustrated that ours isn't. So we need to make it gorgeous in the downtown.
It's beyond not gorgeous. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Who said that?
Me, Sarah. It's disgusting. Like it's embarrassing right now. And I'd encourage everybody to get out there with a broom before the weekend. It would help a
all
little.
Afternoon sweeping the street in front of my store. I did.
Yeah.
Which is a shame that we have to do all of that. I know it's everybody has to do their part, but the problem is not everybody will. So it'll be kind of a mess still. Okay, so if before we
leave that, Lori, I was just going to suggest that if Dan was suggesting Mill Street could be done in an hour, that's got to be just the street. That can't be the sidewalks as well.
I think so too, right? And I'm not clear either if when he comes on, if proposed on April 19th, if that sidewalks as well. So I guess there has to be a bit more follow up with him about what that includes on the 19th.
Yeah, hopefully I'll see him tomorrow. If I do, I will ask him.
Yeah, because it is. Oh, hi Heather, welcome. So yeah, so let's put some budget aside.
Sorry, Lori, in his email, he said the crews do need to sweep and clean the sidewalk areas. So that's a manpower crew. That's not
Yeah.
a machine. And they will do that those 2 times, right? They'll do that April 19th weather dependent, and they'll do that in the fall.
So,
And that's prior to the street cleaning, because they sweep it onto the street so the street cleaner can pick it all up.
I know in the past, Dan has said that we as business owners can sweep it onto the street and they will pick it up off the street.
Yeah.
But then unfortunately they didn't.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. And if we wait for them, it'll be prior to April 19th, but you know, I don't know exactly when.
So I'd like to propose that we maybe put, I don't know, $500, like what's 135 times?
I was thinking 270 because we do have a larger BIA area than just Mill Street, and it should be all of our designated area.
Yeah, okay, you're right. So you and John are both right about that. So how many more
So
times?
270 times 4 times.
Times 4?
Yeah, and we don't have to use them all, but
Yeah, I agree, Jackie.
So that would just make us over $1,000. So 1,080 if you do the math. So it'd be like we could put $1,100 or $1,200 towards it. I don't know if also for streets we have the mulch under the trees this year. I'm not sure if we budgeted for that.
Yeah, we did. We have money for Tristan to come and do an early weeding and mulching of the trees and some weeding of of the actual sidewalks too. So I spoke to him about that last fall. So provided he's still in business and doing that, I think he gave us a very good price on that. And if we have to call in someone else, it'll be considerably more. But yes, there is currently money for that in the budget.
So
do we need to make a motion, Marie?
I was just going to say, does somebody would like to make a motion for the $1,200 street cleaning?
I'm happy to make a motion.
Okay, thanks. Kayla usually writes the motions for us, Sarah. So be it resolved that the Creemore BIA Board of Directors approves the amount of $1,200 to be used for additional street cleaning in 2022. Does that sound good? Yeah, Jackie, does that sound like the motion we want to put forward? Do we have a seconder? I love it. Unanimous seconding.
Yeah.
I think everyone's in favor then, right? If everyone's seconding it, everyone in favor, raise your hand. Perfect. Okay, guys, that's carried. So that is the money we're going to put aside. I think next year, though, I think I'd really like to talk to staff, to township staff, and really ensure that maybe at least 1 or 2 more street cleanings are included in their budget when they're doing their planning in November, because it's really hard for us to figure this out come spring when we're in this situation right now where we have to figure it, kind of go back and forth. Okay, so let's move on. Tom, are you still close by?
I am.
Okay, I would love to sort of introduce the idea of parking, patios, and pedestrians. So I know some of the folks on this call, it's very near and dear to their hearts as well. So parking, always everybody's favorite topic, so sexy in the Creemore BIA. Patios is actually a fun topic, which Millen knows intimately all about patios, and pedestrians, which I think also Millen is an expert on. So Tom has some thoughts and ideas and just wanted to get some feedback for us. So Tom, I'm going to hand over the floor to you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and like Lori said yesterday, we talked. I'm in the process of preparing a proposal. I wouldn't say village-wide, but it's addressing some issues throughout the village. Some to do with parking. Gowan Park is one area. Mill Street is the primary area. In and around the station on the green, the impact of parking because of new development on Mill Street, commercial and residential, and the opening of Village Green should have an impact as well on the use of the station on the Green's parking lot, and hopefully in attracting some tourism in that area. So So I wanted, and some of the solutions for, so let's say Gowan Park would work with for Mill Street. I am proposing that we basically create a new parking lot on the south end of the Creemore Medical Center. And that would provide off-street parking for Mill Street, and it would remove the parking, the parallel parking that's on Gowan Street that is a hazard. We've allowed it for many years. And I've talked to both Terry Vachon and Dan Gowan because they're most interested and most in connection with the people who use the park, the ball players, etc. And they support the idea. So Dan and I are working on a proposal. I am putting through a report to council probably in the first meeting in May, and asking council to direct staff to look at parking in these problem areas, specifically Mill Street. I think we've already made the decision at the staff level to move the parking on Gowan Street over to the medical center as soon as we can get some money and put it into the new parking lot on at the medical center. So, but it's a little bit more ranging than that. I think there's now that we're considering. I've had a couple of requests to continue the patios and to build and to actually have new ones installed. And Dan has agreed with myself that we think it's a good idea, subject to council approval, that we continue the patios on the street. Of course, that involves the BIA. So I thought I would start. You can see how they're starting to build the parking and the patios, and then of course when we have that kind of activity, both on the Mill Street and also crossing the street at the parking at the park from Gowan Park over to the medical center parking, young children, etc. Then we should be taking some steps to protect our pedestrians. So generally the topic would be traffic calming, just to make people aware. And then I have received a few comments about the intersection at Collingwood Street, both for those that are using walking assistance, young kids coming home from school. We used to have a crossing guard, and we had the warrants to have the crossing. We downgraded it, but we still delineate the parking spot with the lines on the street. So that suggests that it's a safe crossing. However, it always isn't a safe crossing. I don't think we have a terrific problem with traffic and speeding on Mill Street, but sometimes when there's a lot going on in the street and people are looking around, there is a hazard. So we are looking at putting some kind of an alert, maybe a flashing light. Certainly, well, I'm not in favor of a red light, although that's been suggested, so that we make people aware that there is traffic that we're allowing to cross based on the fact that the oncoming traffic is aware.
I think, are you talking about Caroline Street and Mill?
Yes.
I think you might have said Collingwood earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to correct you because I know we spoke about it yesterday.
You can tell what else I'm working on. So yes, yes, thank you for that correction. So all of that comes together. So just to give you a broader scope. So I did look at, I've never actually known what's maximum parking on Mill Street. So I looked at Francis to Edward, and by my own calculations, we have about 90 spaces if we were fully used. That takes into account driveways and the offsets from the intersections. But we don't park in stalls. We park kind of randomly. So my guess is that, and Dan will take a more clear, good look at it. My guess is we have about 70 spaces on Mill Street from Francis to Edward, and then from to Elizabeth rather, and then from Francis to Edward, and then from Edward to George Street, which is primarily residential. But for events, it spills over there. We probably could get another 20 spaces. And of that, 15 to 20 are used by businesses, employees, and tenants. And then it looks like we're going to need another 7 to 10 for new commercial development. Every year we overflow that to the extent of about 15 or 20 homes, 20 cars on Elizabeth Street, and particularly for some reason, the Angle Park, which is a nuisance for the residents there. All of this to suggest that we do need to have some additional capacity. And one of the first places I think we can provide is the medical center parking, the new municipal parking lot, if you like. It's a short walk. And then, of course, during the summer, we have the motorcycles and the recreational vehicles and cyclists and that sort of thing. So I think everyone would agree, and I guess it's an open question I would ask, that we do have a parking problem on Mill Street, and we do need to do something about it. So that's kind of where I am on that. And then I would like to get comments on how many new businesses would want to have patios, and how many of the existing ones want to continue their patios. And,
Tom, can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
Where are the complaints coming from? What makes you say that we have a parking problem? I'd like to understand that.
Well, some of the complaints I get, some of the most persistent complaints are from the residents who live on some on Caroline, but that's minor, mostly on Elizabeth Street, who experienced the spillover.
Okay. Is there any obligation? Creemore Springs, it strikes me that they have a lot of existing parking. They also are probably one of the greatest draws in the area and maybe have the most people wanting to visit. Is there any way that we can utilize the parking that they have? And is there any, it seems to me that if we're talking about visitor parking, temporary parking, short-term parking, and specifically that area, is there any way that we could work with existing paving for when we're talking about Mill Street? I understand the park is kind of separate, but I just, in terms of solving that particular area, we have a whole parking lot. I know that they have staff and stuff, but is there any obligation to them to use that space for visitors?
Our insurance doesn't cover visitors. It's private parking. So even when there are spillovers, when we have motorcycles and stuff parked in there, we have to uncomfortably go and ask them to leave, because we can't have people who are not employees or working at the building to be parked at the brewery.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the same answer I got a couple of years ago when we asked that question.
So, but is there no obligation if we have private space that we can use for parking as businesses? I mean, it's not uncommon for functioning businesses to also allow customers to park there. It seems like Foodland does it. I don't understand why the brewery wouldn't be in a position to do that.
When the Children's Festival happened, they provided insurance to us. We were added as additional insured for the Children's Festival, and that provided additional parking for that event. So I don't want to speak out of term here, but I'm not sure if that would be requirement of somebody who holds insurance to add us as an addition, the brewery as an additional insured. We are now brewing 7 days a week, so the water truck will be running, and that's another concern, is the traffic in the parking lot as well.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that it's an empty parking lot for the most part on weekends, but
yeah. It occurred to Dan and I to talk briefly to the brewery, but we expected to get the same answer that Heather just gave us now.
But why? But isn't there, like, to me, it seems like we're talking, when are the complaints? The complaints are probably on weekends. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, mostly on the events and weekends, which
that's when the parking lot is empty, and the municipality has provided insurance before. in order to allow people to park there that are visitors? Is there a conversation we could have there at all?
Yeah, well, keep in mind that when we're talking about Mill Street, even if that was a solution, it could be, arranged with the brewery, I guess. Right now, I don't think that's a solution that we can rely on, but we haven't had that discussion with the brewery. But as it's just been said, we've been told in the past that it probably won't work.
Just for reference, I have to get special insurance on like Creemore and Copper Kettle to allow the people who are attending the festival to be in the parking lot.
Yeah,
it's a pain, but
so maybe we should get insurance for some of our events too, Heather, like summer solstice.
Yeah.
Autumn equinox, like
so you're going to have event insurance anyways, I'm sure.
Yeah,
so
we do.
We could start with that conversation and ask if we're listed as an additional insured, if we can get exceptions for sort of those Fridays. But I think that's the conversation, and I can help direct where that conversation is going. We don't have our GM anymore. We're in transition. Paul Swindell is not with the business anymore. So I could help direct to the right area for that.
So if we're able to alleviate some of those parking strains during key periods, Tom, is that helpful at all?
Oh, well, clearly it would be. It doesn't, it still would, from the point of view of what we're doing in other parts of Creemore.
Oh, yeah.
For example, it would still be available for event parking if we went ahead. Here's the practicality of it. Right now, there's no money to do this in 2022, but Dan thinks he might be able to find some operational funds just to do some quick graveling, grading, and in 2022 do something quickly. And then in 2023 expand it into a full stall base. I mean, actually the painted stalls so we can get as many vehicles in there. It may mean if in the end there's no real problem with parking on the Mill Street, then we might reduce the size of the stalls we put in. I'm estimating somewhere between 30 and 40 parking places. But I think as the town grows, we're going to need municipal parking in different places. So we're thinking ahead here, and we're trying to solve a couple of problems with the same solution. So
yeah, and I think the flip side of that, and that's probably something I'm probably taking away from Tom, but Tom's going to mention this, is that we're getting more requests for patios. So, and with possible ongoing construction sort of across the road from me, there may be some more spaces gone. So for instance, are we able to tell people who has applied for patio permits, Tom?
Well, no one has applied that I'm aware of, but if someone wants to speak up and say, yes, I want to have my patio, or
Shay Michelle definitely will reapply again. We were kind of told that we could continue to keep the same sort of patio layout that we had, which is why we put such a great investment into it.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure that the Bank Cafe would like to have a patio. I don't think La Cucina needs to apply for a permit, although because they don't really take up the sidewalk.
But they've said that it's there to stay. But it's there to stay, and that gives us a little bit of a pedestrian issue because people walking slowly. So that's why I talked about pedestrians. So
I apply, but mine doesn't obstruct a sidewalk or road.
And I think Creemore Bakery intends to use the right now. My understanding, I haven't talked to her yet. She wants to use the bike green zone. That was there for a specific reason, so I will have a discussion with her on that. But
the bikes peeking out into the road is a little bit hazardous.
Yeah. So the whole area there, and that's what Dan wants to take a look at. I think we did a reasonable job putting the patios in with not much regulation and good cooperation from the businesses, and it seemed to work out okay. But we're a little bit concerned, Dan and I, about the transitions at both ends of the patios for our pedestrians and the visibility at night. and that sort of thing. So a general look at the street with the idea of keeping them, making them safe, providing the services that the businesses want is what this whole proposal is about with regards to the patios. Now, I'm assuming the patios take about a car and a half length, let's say, but I'm saying, so each patio, we drop another 2 parking spots. So if we have, if we had eight patios, we'd lose another 8 parking spots. So.
And we gain so much space for humans. I love it.
And we gain more space. Well, Lori and I joked.
Let's talk about that. We gain human space. Fewer cars, more people. Let's do it.
Lori and I joked that, eventually maybe we just turn the whole damn street into a pedestrian parkway.
We'll let you take the calls for that, Tom.
What did you say?
I said we'll let you take the calls on that one.
Well, I would get them.
Yeah, that's true.
We got them.
No, anyway, so kind of catching the drift on how all these things are starting to come together. So, and I do have a question now about how much parking we could use, and so we want to have a station on the green discussion. I understand the farmers market is going back to the station on the green. At least the Easter market is going to be there, so we have to be careful of that.
The Easter market's an indoor market, Tom.
Yeah, but there'll be parking.
Oh yeah, sorry. I thought you meant like in terms of displacing parking.
Oh
sorry.
Yeah, no. But I wondered, I haven't talked to Helen if she's still ahead of it. I haven't talked to her if she's going to move back from, and maybe Heather, are you going to stay at the brewery?
There hasn't been a request for the brewery, but because of us moving to brewing 7 days a week, we wouldn't be able to accommodate the market again this year.
Yeah.
Because of the traffic is just not safe.
Yeah. Amanda, did you have a comment? I saw your hand.
I just wanted to jump in. So it's been confirmed that the Creemore Farmers Market's using Station on the Green May 1st to October 8th. Yeah. Their hours are the same as previous, 8:30 to 12:30. They're making some progress on how to adjust for accessibility as well, because when they close off the parking lot, we had complaints previously that it would remove those 2 accessible parking spots.
Yes.
So I'm also working with Georgie on an accessibility plan for the farmers market. Just
good. I'm glad you picked that up, because that was one of the issues that we were going to take a look at as well. Good. So I'm open. I'm hearing kind of mixed. Am I hearing that there's not really a parking problem on Mill Street, or am I hearing that this may be a good thing to have for current and future use?
John, you have your hand up. Did you want to respond to Tom's questions?
Well, on the weekends, I've certainly witnessed a parking issue myself, and I believe it is something we do have to address. As Creemore fills out and grows, it's only going to get more of an issue. I had another suggestion too, as far as the Carolines and Mill Street area there for the pedestrians. There's plans to put in a pedestrian activated light on North Street in Stainer.
Yes.
I'm just wondering if something like that wouldn't work there.
That's what Dan is thinking.
Okay, good.
Yeah. That's something like that.
Good.
That's exactly
not a bad idea.
Tom, the current parking that we do have, I happen to have the green P or blue P or whatever in my office. It fell off. So I think maybe talking about wayfinding for parking, I think that the space that we do have is underutilized. I do support the idea of having more municipal space, especially since we already own the land in that parking, like it looks like a parking lot now, so you might as well do it properly. But yeah, right now the wayfinding to parking, I don't think is helpful for visitors.
Yeah, well, thank you for that input, but that's exactly what Dan will do. He'll look at the whole thing. It's kind of not been ever looked at completely. So in a holistic way, how are we going to plan the parking? How we're going to direct people to the parking? An interesting suggestion I'll throw out, Lori we want to talk about it as well, is time limited parking as a way of keeping the traffic a little bit more moving, dynamic, instead of just sitting there all day.
Something that I've witnessed in other towns, and I've always wondered how it would work here, and I'm not sure which side I sit on it. Like I don't know the background, I don't know the statistics, just an idea, but I have seen in other small towns where they have limited, sort of 3-hour parking, for instance. Maybe it's limited 5-hour parking. I don't know. I've heard the restaurants don't think sometimes that 3-hour parking is enough. I know we've talked about this a little bit before. I don't know if it's the best idea or not, but if we're trying to move some of the people that are there sort of days and days on end,
Like residents.
to encourage them to maybe use the municipal lot or to, somewhere else, then that might be a solution. If we want to have people sort of coming to restaurants, coming to shops, and that constant movement on the main street. So I don't know. It's just a thought out there, whether if that's something you guys like or not. I don't know.
Lori,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt for a second. I've got to run shortly. Do you need me to stick around for anything, or you have all the notes that we spoke about?
I can talk a little bit about the website. Yeah, and where we're sort of trying to figure out what's going on.
Okay, so you're cool. All right.
Thank you, Jackie. I appreciate that.
Jackie, before you leave, just so you know, we're going to talk about one of your favorite subjects at the end.
Oh, yeah?
Electrification.
Oh, I'm going to be sorry to miss that.
But it took it out of sequence, but I just wanted to let you know that once we're looking at the street for all these practical and current issues, we think it would be a good idea to have a medium to longer term plan and things like electrification and possibly a service agreement, a memorandum of understanding that takes into account all the paver maintenance and sand and the snow and all that sort of thing. So Lori and I talked about that a little bit. So I'd like to sort of do something quickly, get something done, and then as we're building a plan for today's problems, let's take a look at things that we need to look at going forward. So I just wanted to make a mention of it.
Nice. And before I go, Tom, I should thank you and your board at the station for popping over there and getting some window washing done before the event Saturday. Appreciate that.
Who are you thanking?
You and the board. You're on the board at the station. Weren't you one of the ones that popped over to wash windows?
No, I'm not, but I'll pass it on to the first.
You'll take credit? No.
No, I'll pass it on. It's good to hear they've done that. But,
okay. Yeah, I thought Debbie Hill had said that you were on the board and you had popped over, but
yeah, no, not anymore.
For those that don't know, it was the memorial celebration of life for John Wiggins on Saturday.
So I've kind of said, giving you the highlights: the Mill Street parking, the on-street seasonal patio. Some mention about discussion with the station on the green for possible parking there. Pedestrian crosswalk, the Gowan Park parking was just for your information as part of what's together.
Tom, it's Lori. Can I interject and make sure that when he does his plan, he looks at overnight parking? Those of us that live on Mill Street, we are not allowed to park overnight, but there is no municipal overnight parking in Creemore. So if you live like I do on the street, you're really in trouble to find an overnight spot.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I do have that down overnight. I have it down as employee and overnight intended parking. Yeah. And then the longer term plan. So I just wanted to let you know what we're thinking, and Lori thought it would be a good idea to get some of your input. I do appreciate what you said. I'm always open to your suggestions, and I will prepare my report. Dan and I are going to go over it. I think we're going to go over it with our planning department as well, because there is one development next to the pub that will have some issues with parking. We can't provide them with enough parking on the street. And so there'll be a multi-departmental review of this, and then council will get a comment on it. And
does
then
that mean the actual construction trucks, or do you mean after the build is done? Are you talking about construction?
Well, I think I'm thinking specifically the old Mill Club. They're concerned about the construction itself, and I think they would. I haven't heard this yet from them, but I think they would appreciate having the patio where they had it before on Elizabeth Street.
Yes.
And then we'd have to do some work in terms of whether or not temporarily we're going to lose some parking. I'm sure with the demo. I'm not sure. So I just, the longer term solution there is when the building is finished and the tenants are in place, both commercial and residential, they will need parking. And we don't have sufficient parking on the property or on Mill Street.
I know.
When does that project start?
They're anxious to go, but we haven't seen a start yet. But I would say it's going to start this year.
Has the permit been issued?
No.
Oh, like this year doesn't mean like in the month of July or something.
I mean, you know,
well, that's a concern. That's a concern.
It's a big concern for the business community, you know, having
Absolutely.
that happen in our busiest season.
Yeah,
is
busiest
a real
season is going to be
concern.
disruptive for sure.
They were supposed to start in the winter, early spring.
Yeah.
So I had that discussion with Rosalind, and that's under discussion right now.
Okay.
So just so you know, so I can't say too much on that right now. But
Yeah, we appreciate that. Okay, wonderful.
that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Tom. Appreciate
You're
your
welcome.
thoughts and keeping us always abreast about parking and patios. And, you know, also, I think we do need to talk about that green parking zone where that bike, you know, if they're going to take over that and use it for the patio, because the BIA sort of voted on, you know, putting that there. And I think it's really well used from what I can tell by the
I
bike.
really like it.
So
It's extremely
gonna put that-
busy all the time.
are we going to put that somewhere else? I mean, these are the questions I sort of have, like,
Yeah.
does it get relocated? Do we just forget about it? Because the problem was all those bikes were parked on the sidewalk and pedestrians felt that they couldn't really get through because of all the bikes.
Yeah, I would, this is where I need some of your help too. So if we have kind of a team approach to this, because I don't want to offend anyone,
No, and nor do
but-
we.
but I
Yeah.
think it was a good thing that we did. That was, and I know that it helped at least one business, but I think there was more to it than just one business, but obviously one benefited the most.
Well, I
So,
think it was nice to have all the bikes in one place, right? It just sort of seemed like a really good gathering place for the bikes. And I think the neighbors of that business were appreciative that the bikes weren't all over the place and in their alleyway going up to the Mill Street studio and things like that.
Yeah.
That was
And
another.
and other people were given equal opportunity to have the same service, the green space, and chose not to. Other people that would have been, obvious users of a similar service.
Sorry,
I
say it again, Sarah.
We did give other people the opportunity to have the same thing, and they chose not to. So I think, I'm sure we can find a good solution again.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's on our list, and would appreciate some help too. Maybe we'll walk over, a couple of us over together and
Yeah.
maybe have a discussion or something. Now that we're free
To lose that bike parking would be problematic, I think.
And if I can take the opportunity with my pharmacist here in the room, do I need a booster?
Mm-hmm.
Should I? Are you giving out boosters this year?
You're on mute, Jen.
On you.
Sorry. Yeah. Yes, you do need one. And yes, we're starting at the end of the month or at the end of this week. So.
My arm will be at your service. All right, thanks, Scott. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. Okay, so I don't know, you're welcome to stay, Tom, but if you need to hop off, that's up to you.
Well, it looked from the agenda, it looks like you mentioned a lot of the stuff to me yesterday, so
I
it
did
sounds like
go
an
over a lot.
exciting summer again, and
Yeah.
and I support John and what he said. We talked about that. And I actually predicted last night at the council meeting that there might be another request coming in for some funds from the Economic Development Committee.
Stay
So,
tuned.
so we'll see what we can give. All right, thanks.
Thank you,
Talk to you.
Tom. Thanks for your time. Okay, folks, so let's keep going. Spring flowers. Sarah, do you have an update on the flower situation? They're ordered, right?
They're planted, I hope. Yeah, I guess we're underway. I haven't checked in on them, but I will do that.
So we're probably thinking end of May. Kind of.
Yeah, she wants to have them out May 2 for a weekend, like before May 2 for a weekend. But that's always weather dependent, and I will have to touch base with her.
Sarah, while you're talking, did you want to talk at all to the Muskoka Chairs and the Take a Seat program, which is the next section of our agenda?
Sure, yeah. So this month I went and contacted all of the previous participants and take a seat. And I think we had all but one of our past participants choose to sponsor a chair again this year. So that's fantastic. And I guess I could use some direction from the board in terms of if we wanted to extend the program and purchase more chairs or not. So that's something to consider. And then the third part of this is, do we want to get chairs out this weekend prior to street sweeping so that they're available for people when they come in for Easter? And if so, is there anybody that can maybe help out with that? So that's
Okay.
all, the SCOCA all at
Let's
once.
take it one part at a time. So the first thing I think you mentioned was take a seat. So I think, did we have 12 last year? Is that correct? 12?
Mhm.
So 11 have been spoken for. So if we order more, I personally think we should. I don't know how you guys feel. I think we put some budget aside for that during the AGM. I've also sort of mentioned it to Sarah and Patrick from Home Hardware that we'd probably be ordering more. They have some on order, but we just need to make sure that we get our name on them. What are you guys thinking? Another 12? Is that too many?
I don't know where to put them, but if people have locations that they think that we could have more, I mean, I think we have to look at the locations and then decide how many. Is there anybody here who knows of a good location that we could add to, put more chairs in front of people that we feel we haven't serviced?
I think we could do better on the corners, on the big corners. You know, for instance, we had a couple in Jen's Pharmacy, and then we had a couple in front of the mural in what is now the Apothecary. But you know, we could do the other two corners as well. So the corner of Logum, and maybe, I don't think we can really do it on the Otis side because he has a patio out. But doing more on the corners, I think might work. And then I'd have to kind of walk the street and see where else we might want to put some in. Anybody have thoughts where else they might go? So I guess that's really only about 6, right?
Yeah. I mean, if we wanted to, I know that
What about down by the bookstore? Is there was there anything last
she
week?
has two. She had two right in front of the bookstore. I think Jen by the drugstore seemed to be one of the most popular spots, or maybe only just because I can see it from my office. It seemed popular.
And also the one in front of the mural at Apothecary was always full because it was in shade.
So maybe if we just added 2 more chairs to those areas. Yeah.
And also now we have the patisserie open, and they weren't open last year. We might be able to put a couple of chairs there, which we didn't really do because it was kind of a vacant lot.
Do we want any in the park, like at the end of the street, or
even at the station, maybe? I don't know with the construction.
Yeah, I don't know about the Mad River Park if you want to put anything down there, because I feel like it's just
outside of our mandate. That.
And the station on the green, I don't know when the hoarding's coming off. I mean, if the hoarding was off, maybe we could put a couple in front. I agree. But without the hoarding off, I think it's too narrow there. I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like if a chair was there, it would take up the entire side.
I was thinking more like outside of the station if the farmer's market was moved back over there, but I don't know.
Farmer's market. Oh, so like right up by the doors of the station. Is that what you're suggesting? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if that would impede the construction. We'd have to ask.
I don't know either.
What about on Elizabeth down the side of the brewery? Is there space there? Because that's in shade too.
Yeah, we have 2. Actually, we have we put the John's business sponsored 2, so we have 2 there, and we could add a couple more there for sure.
Yeah. And even down further in front of the brewery too. Hey, Heather, like we only put them really in the corner. I think we can almost put some
between the patio and the south parking lot.
Yeah, like where those big poster boards are.
That's a nice idea.
Maybe around there, because you've got some nice like gardens.
Landscaped and
yeah. You don't have anything there, do you? Do you have a bench there? I can't.
There's benches that go in. There's 3 benches that I think that go along there.
So maybe we have to look at that.
So my only hesitation with more chairs is the amount of work that the chairs took. So
The person that posts most of them together.
forget. Do you remember what we did last year, Lori? Like, do you remember that? Painting, constructing. Yeah, remember?
Wait a minute. Can I like erase my earlier suggestion?
It's like childbirth. You forget. It's like a trick. You do it again. Yeah.
I was remembering today how heavy those benches are to move.
Right?
I saw them and I was like, oh my God, I don't want to do that again.
And those chairs are the same.
I am not going to have time to deal with these chairs this spring, unfortunately. I've got a pretty busy few weeks coming up ahead, and I don't have any additional staff. So if somebody
has additional staff, let me know.
I know, right? So I don't know. I think that's the other thing to consider beyond location is just like who's going to implement. I don't have the time to do what we did last year. Like between you and Pete and Alan, like it was, and Darcy, like it was a fairly big effort.
We had a hard enough time getting people to help us take stuff off the trees.
Which is still not all off, by the way.
My block was done the day after we talked about it. My whole block.
You're so good.
My staff. I sent my staff out. Here's some
funeral home I noticed today. But okay, so chairs. What do you guys think? You want to just stick with the 12 that we have? Who wants to put them together?
Lori, you went from 12 chairs to no chairs pretty quick. Remember?
Because I remember now that they were really hard to put together, and we had to have like a special drill, and we were all laying on the grass all night trying to put things together. They were really hard to do.
Yeah.
If you wanted to pick a Sunday, I wouldn't mind helping putting the chairs together.
Oh,
okay.
That's a nice offer.
We did have some wonderful people who helped paint. I know Linda painted a chair, at least one, maybe more.
Do you think we could ask Darcy to paint a few again?
Yeah, we could. Yeah, sure. We paid her. That was a budgeted item. But I just think we need to make sure that we have the person.
It's a good spend.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah. So what do you guys think realistically, if we add a couple more in sort of intersections, like we were saying, up by the brewery, what is that, 4 or 6? Did the screen freeze because none of you are moving? All of a sudden I say it's like crickets out there. Everybody hold up a page where it says 4 or 6. What do you guys think? Millen, are you still with us? What do you think?
I'm totally with you. I think that I can try and put maybe 2 together at my home. I have 4 boys. I can put them to good use. I'm sure I could do it on a Monday, Tuesday. I think 12 is ambitious, maybe 6. So you said 2 more at the pharmacy and at the apothecary, and then 2 more at the brewery.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is if we order 6 and then we can't use them, I'm certain that Home Hardware won't have a problem selling the extras. They're great chairs. And so, yeah, I mean, and if we don't
put it together already.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the only reason we'd give them back is because we can't get them put together.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing is, sorry, John?
I was going to say, if you can't get them together, I'll get them together.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, you're a saint.
That's awesome. You know what else is that we thought in our programming, right? So if we do summer solstice and autumn equinox, we're thinking about the fires, and we wanted to have the Muskoka chairs around the fires. So that's another reason why I thought it might be nice to have a few more, so that we had more to pull in onto the street for our sort of events.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that aspect. That's smart.
Yeah.
Because that's really kind of the look we kind of want, with the storytelling, the guitars, the, sing-alongs, all that kind of stuff. We won't even have enough for 12 people at an event is not very much. So I hate to say this, Heather, but we might be using those benches. They might
be BYOC, bring your own chair.
Bring your own chair and benches. Where are those benches? Jackie left conveniently, but she would know where the benches are hidden. So
what benches? The ones that were the logs?
They're really logs, heavy benches.
Oh, I was referencing the iron ones.
Oh, those. Yeah, those are heavy too. So anyway, okay. So I think it sounds like 6. Let's put that. Sarah, do you want me to go talk to Home Hardware, or do you want to speak to them?
I can call them and order 6. That's no big deal.
Okay, perfect. We do have a BIA account there, so they can put it on.
And the same color as last year, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we're up for a repaint. We're barely managing to get it all together.
No. And I will get Darcy to paint it. So the whole project will probably be about $1,700, but offset with the money that we collect. I'll have to go out to our members next. I'll go out to our existing members and see if they would like to, anybody else wants to sponsor a chair. And if not, I'm absolutely certain the minute that we put it out to the public in general, we will get sponsors. Like there's got to be a million realtors and other organizations that want to do it. So I will put a call out for 7 new chair sponsors.
That's awesome. Okay, wonderful. Okay. That's a great program. Okay.
It was nice the second year.
Yeah. Nice to see a successful program that we run. Okay, thank you, Sarah. Okay, so let's move on to events.
Just one last thing, Lori. Is anybody able to help move chairs around on Friday? Or like it would be really great to have some on this street for Easter, I think, or maybe not because the streets aren't cleaned. What do people want to do there?
I agree they'd be nice for Easter, but I don't know. I guess if they're manually sweeping the street, it's not going to be too bad because they can sweep around the chairs. It's not like they're having a machine come through. In that case,
sidewalks, you mean, Lori? Yeah.
Yeah, to put them.
I heard a rumor that the weather's not going to be very nice on the weekend.
Oh, okay. Well, then I won't worry about it. I haven't looked at the weather.
Saturday and Sunday are supposed to be rainy days. It's supposed to be nice on Monday. So I'm not sure if the effort's worth it for rainy days.
Agreed. Okay, perfect. Easy. Love it.
I also heard the same rumor. At least we're not getting the snow that out west is having.
Yeah. That's crazy. Okay, cool. Okay, so we'll take a little bit of a time to put those chairs out, and we'll probably have to go back and wash them anyway because I don't know what the situation, what they look like. So we may have to take some buckets of water and soap and kind of give them a bit of a wash down. Okay, so when do we want to put the chairs out? Will it be when the flowers come out or just after the street is cleaned?
I think after the street is cleaned is great. I think people like the chairs.
Let's put out an email for maybe a night at 5 o'clock or something to see who can kind of gather and kind of grab a chair. Certainly we can use my truck, and load some up and drive them around.
Yeah. And I have a truck and trailer we can use as well.
Okay, great. Okay, so if that's okay with you, Sarah, we're going to move on to Easter. Does anyone have any reports on Easter or anything? I'm sorry, I'm a bit out of the loop on Easter.
Darcy's in charge and it's going to happen.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Okay.
It sounds like she's got it in hand. I know she came to our store and mentioned about like the scavenger hunt and things like that. So we're feeling very confident. Does anyone have any questions? I honestly don't know any questions right now. So let's talk about Creemore Nights because this is a big one. So officially, this is going to be the meeting after the last meeting where we said we were going to go ahead with Creemore Nights if we had the grant and the financing. But a lot has changed in the last month. It feels like a long time ago, but a lot has changed. So unfortunately, we're not successful in our grant application. And that means we do not have the grant or the financing that we had hoped to have in order to put on Creemore Nights. So Sarah, would you like to take it away from there as the chair of the Creemore Nights Committee?
Mm-hmm. So as discussed throughout this whole process of budgeting for Creemore Nights and all of our planning, we always said that there would be a few things that would stop us along the way. And one of them was just not getting the funding through the My Main Street program. So because we were unsuccessful, It's just impossible for us to run the program as we had hoped, and we would just like to dissolve the committee and call it a day. We put in a valiant try, but it didn't work out, and onwards and upwards. And so if I may, I'd like to put a motion forward to dissolve the Creemore Nights committee.
Okay, do we have somebody who would like to second that motion? And thanks. And all in favor, some of you have your cameras off, but if you want to just say aye or yes, favor of dissolving the Creemore Nights committee?
Aye.
Did everyone have their hands up? Okay, so the motion's carried. Sorry, it was hard to see you all. Okay, perfect. So that is motion carried, sadly, but here we are. And it's not, doesn't mean it doesn't come back in 2023. It just means right now for 2022, it's just not on the cards for us. Well, thanks, Sarah. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
I just want to thank everybody for the effort and support, the community's interest. I know it's out there. I know the event can work with the right lead up and the right funding. Our community is excited about getting out and celebrating together. So yeah, like Lori says, just because it's not now doesn't mean it's never.
Great, thanks, Sarah. So with that, we're going to close the portion of Creemore Nights. So that was a big agenda item for our AGM, and it was also a big budget item for our AGM. So effectively, all of the budgeting that would have been in our AGM to do with Creemore Nights is now effectively sort of taken out of there. So what we'd like to propose then is some summer programming, I guess sort of summer fall programming for the BIA that is not Creemore Nights, but we've come up with some new ideas as a team. And we'd like to strike a committee tonight to start the new programs. What we have at the moment we're proposing is a slate of 4 events to take place. The first one, and Linda De Winter has agreed to co-chair the committee with myself, and there will be 4 events. The first one that we're proposing is the summer solstice event. It will take place on Mill Street and have a very strong sidewalk sale and sort of shopping component to it. And it will also include hopefully some small fires on the street, some small container type fires with Muskoka chairs around them and some entertainment that the programming group is working on. So it'll be a lot of different things, but it'll be like the celebration of our community, but also the celebration of the summer sort of upon us and the seasons changing. And it's kind of an exciting time. We think we can do some really beautiful graphics. So that is summer solstice. And then we're kind of thinking of bookending the whole thing with the autumn equinox. So we have these 2 sort of big events that we're going to propose. One is summer solstice. The date, Linda, do you remember? I keep forgetting because we've changed it a couple of times. I
think it's the 17th.
Thank you. Sorry, the 17th. I know it's in my notes, but I have you all up on the screen, so I can't see. So it's the 17th of June. So we're proposing
24th.
The 24th of June and the 17th of September.
Thank you. Sorry, I heard it wrong. Sorry, my apologies. So 24th of June. So it's after New Farm. For those of you that know about New Farm. And so it's perfect timing. It's before school breaks up, but people are still in the community. They haven't gone away for their summer vacation, but also, you know, a lot of people are starting to come out. It's beautiful weather. It's going to be late sort of evening because of the sun. And I think it's going to be actually a lot of fun, and it's going to be very different than anything we've done before. So that's the one event. And then the bookend on the other end is the autumn equinox, where we celebrate harvest and we bring part of our agricultural roots back into play here. And again, we look at maybe the hoedown and some other really fun entertainment pieces with that. Again, the bonfires, maybe a corn roast or apples, or we're not exactly sure because the programming committee is still working on that side of things. But I think the autumn equinox and the summer solstice are 2 really interesting events that we kind of kick off the season and we kind of wrap up some of the season and move us into the fall, which we haven't really done before. So it's a little bit different. The one we're proposing in the spring is on a Friday night, and the September one is on a Saturday night. So we're proposing it to do Saturday afternoon and evening, which is very different than we've done before. But as we felt that people were back in school and there was more of a routine, Saturday night might be the better option. The other two events that we're proposing is the July 1st event, which could be a community picnic down Mill Street, as we've done in the past. That's always been very popular.
You want to do June 24th and July 1st?
Yeah.
The idea behind July 1st isn't that it's our event, but that we're helping an existing event, that we're supporting the Legion and their Canada Day programming.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. So the way we were thinking of it is we kind of have two kind of original events that we're going to hang a lot of our marketing around, which is the solstice equinox. And then the other two events are really augmented events that we're augmenting existing programming that's already going on in the village. And we're just doing something to include our business community as well. So interesting enough, we have the bike parade on July 1st. And then, you know, we also have this idea of the community picnic. And then the idea is the entertainment, you know, because of the budget constraints right now, the entertainment works. So once people are done with the picnic, they sort of head on over, I'm pointing like you guys are here, over to the fireworks. So that's the thinking. The last piece is Copper Kettle. So Heather, something we sort of talked to you a little bit about, but then I think you had to leave early on the last meeting. We had a lot of thoughts about Copper Kettle Eve and the night before Copper Kettle and whether it would serve our members as much as something that we worked with you on the day of Copper Kettle. So I know in the past, the brewery's always been really happy for us to extend the sort of entertainment or the activation of Mill Street. And so we wondered if, we don't know enough about what you're doing for Copper Kettle just yet. So we kind of have to probably talk to you offsite, like, you know, just with the committee about whether we should just improve what's going on with Copper Kettle and extend it down the street a little bit more from the BIA's perspective on the Saturday, as opposed to doing something on the Friday night. So wanted to hear your thoughts on that, because we think it might be interesting for sidewalk sale again, a sidewalk sale opportunity. I don't know if you're thinking of doing Maker's Market like you've done in the past.
Yeah, briefly, it's going to be cut and paste of 2019, essentially. I do have question, you know, we might have to think of things to help the block between Caroline and Elizabeth if there is construction. I'm crossing my fingers that can hold off to the fall. But planners and builders have different plans for that. They don't care about what we're doing. Where I could see where I struggle more to help the BIA area further down the street is entertainment down in the corner of Caroline. So even though we have the Maker's Market, it's always nice to have music down at that intersection of Caroline and Mill Street.
Mm-hmm.
And the park.
There might be the park, right? Like there might be the village green at that point in the stage. So there might be an opportunity to put something on that stage.
Sure. Yeah. That does help that section, you know, everything costs a lot of money and pushing it further just keeps on adding things in. And that's just where I would see would be the hardest. We always struggle is trying to kind of spread it out further down the street. And music is always a really good, like one that's the easiest to execute, I think. Whether it's acoustic or just a small audio setup. But if you have the stage in the park, it'd be awesome to animate the park area because that's a whole new space that we haven't had before. And my funds aren't going to stretch to do the park. And obviously the park has their own coordinator and their own stuff. So if the park wanted to do a bar down there, like we could do it, we could do an agreement with a bar. And license it and have music. So just like Carol does her own beer garden on Elizabeth Street, why not do a beer garden further down the road? So there's enough people to share this, but you know.
That's exactly what we were sort of hoping you would say, is that maybe we should license the whole street and we do the picnic tables as we've done in the past, maybe, unless we're using the same vendor. And, you know, maybe there's some sort of entertainment and then a bar of some sort.
Yeah, the licensing the whole street only gets a bit tricky, and maybe Amanda can speak to this. I'm not sure if she's done anything for that. Is as soon as you like a block to a block, an intersection to an intersection is good. As soon as you start going through intersections, it gets tricky because you need to have security on all the exit spots.
Yeah.
And so you're managing all that. So you have to spend the money. You got to have the funds for security and the manpower to do that. Now, we could use, like, if you wanted to, I could use the security company that I'm already doing, and they bring more bodies, and we split the cost to extend it down the street. So all of this is possible. It's just the logistics change a little bit, but we can have like little planning sessions moving forward, and then we can work on that. So I would suggest, I don't know if it's too late for you guys, but maybe it would be better for the idea of the space, but post Creemore. So maybe the beginning of the I don't know if it's too late for like the first week of June, just to see what we're going to do on August 27th, but we could do some planning sessions.
Yeah, I think for logistics, that's fine. Probably the programming group, which is Sarah and Linda, will probably want to get on to entertainment if there is going to be any entertainment component. I don't know. They'll probably want to talk a little bit about that. And if it's just simply, if entertainment is left to the program people at the park, that's something different again. And maybe we just focus on the street and the street sale and the makers market and the
I think,
I mean,
always sidewalk sales are awesome. Like, I remember the toy store coming out. I believe Jen comes out on the street for Copper Kettle. Do you? Yeah, it's just it animates the street and makes people come out. Like, we know the people are here, so if they're not coming in, at least make sure that they're shopping outside, right? There's lots to do. And even the animation of just having stores come out on the street just helps bring life to the outside anyways. You don't necessarily have to have somebody juggling or singing, but I had that band that was playing like pots and pans or something on the corner there on Jen's corner a couple years in a row. The Von Villians, and they did create a little bit of a crowd around there, which is fun. But for me, it's always just so much trickier it's another thing that we have to animate down there, add to the budget, and then also manage, which is, I'm if you can spread a little bit thin.
So we realized that we won't have the tents and stuff from Amanda, like, because we know that they're already committed to Copper Kettle, and we know that tables and stuff like that. But then we talked about that in our committee meeting the other night. And we kind of felt that probably the businesses don't need them anyway. Those that want them probably already own a tent. And if not, if they don't, maybe we can help people to understand where to rent them or give them some. It's
only rained 2 Copper Kettles in 20 years.
You're jinxing yourself. You better touch wood right now.
I know the weather patterns. It's fine. I predicted snow in Manitoba.
So that's great, Heather. That's I think what we were really hoping, and knowing that how the brewery has sort of talked to us in the past. So that looks like that could really work out better, I think, than the Friday night, which we had originally talked to you about.
And we also would we want to include all the programming together, right? So it doesn't, we can say VIA or whatever, but we can pay for, the posters and stuff like that. We can just include and say in partnership with, we can put logos on, we can, but let's piggyback with each other. So we're not kind of, we'll just share, collaborate.
Yeah, that was kind of what we thought, wasn't it, Lori? We really thought that these events are happening already, and maybe we weren't using them to the fullest ability. So let's do that.
Yeah. So, and because of our budgetary constraints now, not having the sort of budget we hope to have with Creemore Nights, these are things that can really help us.
We do plan on still having the, so when I say cut and paste, so we do still plan on having the cars coming in, the classic cars, for one block, we don't want to make it too crazy, but.
Which block do you have that sort of already booked?
The classic cars have always gone from Elizabeth to Caroline, and the overflow is like as far as the grocery store or Tim's.
Have they always gone there? Last time I thought you had the The fence is up halfway through past Elizabeth for the bar zone.
Okay, so the entrance we had kind of in front of your store, so you didn't get so much of the cars, and then the cars started after the entrance.
Oh, did they? Oh, okay.
But we
And you've
also
already-
had, like, sorry, Sarah?
And you've already coordinated that?
The car
The
show?
car station, yeah.
It's not like it's the plan is just the street's closed. We got the street request in, and the plan is to do a cut and paste of 2019.
I think there's something we could probably talk to you about in our committee meeting. You know, it's probably just a logistical thing. Certainly the car show would add, you know, a great element. You know, and with the patios, I'm thinking about Malin's patio and possibly this other new patio and the construction going on. That might be a little congested there for cars, but you know, I'm sure we can brainstorm and come up with maybe a different height to put them.
Cars?
Yeah.
Yeah. We just so sure we have open to discussions and stuff, but yeah, because the patios coming out. I mean, the patios have come out before. The Norma's always come out before. I think Malin came out in 2019, their first year there to experience it.
We did. We had a food stall out front that year in front of the patio, and this year our plan is to keep, because I know we have to have ambulance access, to keep our stalls in our walkway, which we won't need that day because the street's closed.
So the my concern is if there wasn't that portion there, you're going to have a big chunk of nothing.
Got it.
I see.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons that kind of filled in dead space.
Yeah.
It was always easy because the cars come in and park and whatever.
Yeah.
We do
yeah.
have the Lions, sorry, who does the Mustang? There's some of the community groups come in and do draws, and they'll set up tents as well, or the radio station, so we can animate with sort of vendor kiosks that are not competitive spaces. It's just the community groups that want to set up. So there are different things that can fill in.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's something we could take back to committee and work out, you know, all these details. Basically, it was just sort of talking to you tonight about moving it from Friday to Saturday, and we you know, just seeing if we could actually do that. And I think sounds like the way we're going to go. So I think so that's sort of a really brief synopsis. It's still a little bit in conceptual stage. I know we've met with Amanda and our committee. I think I'd like to make a motion tonight to strike a new committee. I'm just going to call it 2022 events, I think, right now, because we don't have a name just yet. And I would, I can't put a motion together. So does somebody want to make a motion to put a new committee together that Linda and I will co-chair? Linda, would you like to put that motion together? Maybe Linda stepped away. Oh, there she is. Do you want to put a motion together to strike a committee? We have to do it officially in this meeting to say that we have a new event committee for the summer events of 2022 that Linda and I have agreed to co-chair. So
okay, does it make sense for me to put the motion, or does somebody else have to put the motion
it makes sense for you to do it. Okay. I can't do it.
You can't do it.
So you put it together and somebody else will second it. I don't mind writing the motion. It's going to sound like this, like, be it resolved that the Creemore BIA hereby approves a new committee formed to handle summer programming and events.
Okay.
Something like
all right. Yeah.
We'll write it.
What she said.
We want somebody to second the motion. And all in favor. Okay, great. So we have a new committee and other members of the committee. I don't know if I have to make a motion about that or I just add them in. Not quite sure. How did you do that before, Sarah?
I think once I brought back a proposal, I just included who all of the committee members were in my.
We can do that. Sarah Hershoff is on the committee as well as Jackie Durnford, and not sure, I didn't write it all down. But we've got some other folks coming into the committee and different jobs, but I don't want to like put their names here until we are sure who's who. So, okay, great. So that's where we're going. Should we also approve budget at this point, treasurer? Madam
I think so. I mean, right now, we're not in a position to spend a cent on anything. So for this, because it is a new initiative. So I think if we do want to move forward and be able to make decisions, we need to have some idea of what the expectation is.
Okay. So with that, do you want to put a motion together, Sarah, for the budget for this?
Well, did you want to present sort of what we were thinking in terms of the spend?
Oh, yeah. How do I get back to that? I'm going to try this, share screen, and then, oh boy, where did I put it? Okay, let's see here.
I hate to do this, but I have to duck out for bedtime.
Okay. No worries.
Very important.
So, but if I can come back, I will. And thank you so much. Have a good night, everyone.
No problem. Have a good night, Millen. Thanks for joining us. Okay. Sorry, I'm struggling to find the right file. Okay, here it is. Sorry, guys. Coming. There it is. Okay, here we go. Is this the document you wanted, Sarah? Or the financial document?
Yep. Nope. That's what we're working from. This is kind of our overall planning document.
See it? Okay, hopefully that's okay. Perfect. So, Sarah's been helping us put together some ideas here for budget for the summer, these 4 events that we've just been talking about. They're sort of a little bit out of order here, but that's okay. July 1st, we've got a budget of $2,600. And then do you want me to go through each of the details on this as well? Right now?
I don't think so. I don't think we need the detail. Okay. I mean, I think if anybody has questions, we can go through the details.
It's very high level at this point because we still have a lot of work to do because we just started. So we've got 2,600 for July 1st. The biggest one going to be the summer solstice and the equinox, are 2 big bookends. So 9,900 for the June event. Copper Kettle sidewalk sale, we only have $1,000 there. Seems a bit strange at the moment.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if you're gonna participate, I'm not sure if $1,000 is gonna do much for either like the Copper Kettle or the Canada Day. Like, it sounds pretty.
Well, Canada Day, remember, it's only a picnic and it's only picnic tables, and it's going to be a pretty easy event. Does
it include marketing?
No,
there's a marketing line later on. Okay.
The Copper Kettle did not take any programming. The 1,000 that's currently there was not to do with programming at all. There's no programming money in there. That was just closures, picnic benches, and maybe something. I don't think there was anything in there, but I mean, it can all change too.
Yeah. This is what we're proposing. The fall's 9,500, so that's a bigger one again. Because of the entertainment components on both of those will take a lot more money. This time we're going to have a volunteer coordinator on the event committee, and we hope to give that volunteer coordinator $1,000, which is to provide any sort of water, snacks, possibly t-shirts, we don't know, a thank you, a recognition for the volunteers. So those monies will go to that. The photography, something that we really wanted to budget to be able to use for our marketing. So the photography and the marketing are, basically 8,000. So you'll see that we're putting a lot of effort into marketing. And then any sort of capital expenses would be $1,200, any assets that we buy. So the way we're kind of hoping that it's going to break down is that corporate sponsorship, we're going to try, Jackie Durnford and I have committed to trying to find corporate sponsors to find $15,000. It's a lot of money. The bar income, we've just estimated at 3,200 because it's only, really 4 bars this time. The BIA contribution would be about $5,000, and then we're hoping to make a proposal to the Economic Development Committee, which will in turn probably go to council, as John was saying at the top of the meeting, and we're proposing a $10,000. We're hoping to put a proposal together for $10,000. So that brings our budget to about 33,000. I mean, that's sort of our tentative plans at the moment. You know, we had to sort of turn everything around in a fairly short period of time to make sure that we were able to capture new ideas and get going and not have nothing this summer. So that's how it's looking. So I think tonight, what we're looking for is a motion so that the board is comfortable with us taking some of this money, you know, to put towards the event from our own coffers. Sarah, is there anything else from a treasurer perspective?
I think we just want to make certain that the board is generally content with the concepts that we have here.
Yeah.
And, you know, with the focus on creating a couple amazing events that we can use to create marketing materials, and then again, bolstering existing events. We may need a larger BIA contribution if we aren't able to get the EDC money or meet the targets for corporate sponsorship, or we may be able to pare back on the programming. But the idea here is that we'd be doing a zero-based budget. So whatever we get, we can spend. Whatever we don't get, we can't spend. But there would be a BIA contribution involved. So what we need to decide is kind of how much the BIA is willing. Currently it's written in at 5, but if, for instance, this board thinks that we should say 10,000 or 2,000, now's the time to talk about that. Like, what is the maximum we want to spend on these events? Is there anything we want to pare back? Is there anything we want to increase to help meet the board's objectives? So, I guess a little bit of feedback, and then if everybody's content, then we could put forward a motion to move forward with the proposal for Creemore Events 2022 as presented. If that makes sense.
Feedback. I'm struggling to see you because I'm sharing my screen, so you may have to just sort of speak up if you want to talk.
So the BIA has money, like save money, right?
Yeah,
we have tons of like on our balance sheet right now we have over $80,000.
Okay.
We haven't received our first levy check yet, so you know, we're not in a position of concern when it comes to money. I can show you the exact numbers when it comes to my report, but yes, there is money there.
Okay.
And if we want to pull that up so people can look at it before we make a decision, we can do that too. I wanted to make sure I brought that balance sheet forward. So it's really deciding.
We've had 2 years of not spending anything. So I think honestly, if you don't get the grant money or the sponsorships, I think the BIA could afford to contribute more and should contribute more. That's my feeling on it, but
yeah.
I'd like to see how I'm reminded of what we spent on the bigger Creemore nights evenings, to compare that to see what for the budgets that are for those two bookend.
Yeah,
events.
I can pull that up just a sec here.
Just because just looking at it, it just looks kind of wonky the way it's budgeted. I'm not saying that it's wrong, but I just wanted to see.
Are you thinking it's too little, too much? What are you thinking?
It looks like a lot.
It is a lot.
For a 4-hour thing.
Yeah, it is a lot. We did put a lot of money in there. It's a lot because we're hoping to hire real humdingers of performers. We are hiring security. We're paying for cleanup. So
I think that's good to know for an understanding of that you're looking for music that's going to actually draw people versus music to just fill in.
Right.
Yeah. And quite frankly, the numbers are quite high with the idea that they are attractors. But that could change as well, depending on our funding. You know, we haven't really got to a point yet where we've drilled down far enough to decide exactly what the entertainment will be.
So when we had the night with
Samantha Martin.
Yeah, for example, that night, because I felt like that was a good evening. We didn't have security and stuff, but I know. So what
we didn't. Yeah, we didn't have a lot of help.
We didn't have a lot of much at all. So
let me just. Sorry, I'm just pulling it up right now. Our entire budget for Creemore nights was only $15,000 for everything we did that year.
And so we're looking at 10 for one.
Yeah, because that's what we've budgeted. I mean, again, that we budgeted high, and we may end up not spending all that money, but
I think the other point to consider is that the only way we said we do these events again is that we wouldn't burn out our human resource.
Exactly.
And so I think the big difference, Heather, between a now and then was that we all felt very burned out after that event, and we all said we wouldn't really want to do it again the same way we did it before. And so we are hiring people where we can, just so we don't burn out the board members. So what we did is like, we're paying a bar manager. So we're paying someone to manage the bar, which is a huge, huge undertaking. We're paying for security. So because we know that, it's really tough for Amanda's team to do security because that's not really their job. So, we're paying for a security company to do that sort of stuff. So some of the stuff we took out, and marketing, we're going to pay some folks to do marketing for us. We're going to pay for photographers. These are all the things that we never had before. So we felt like we had to sort of raise it up a bit, use our events to do better marketing, use our events to do better photography and things like that. So we have photography for next year if we decide to do Creemore nights again, that we have some assets that we can use, because we don't have a whole lot, because we did it such a lean way in the past and we all got so exhausted. So I think there's that.
I also underpaid talent and used a lot of favors. I can't continue to do that. That was another thing. Like when I look at what I paid Samantha Martin and Justin Rutledge, I called in favors on those. I can't continue to do that. If the money's sitting out there in the community and people are willing to sponsor, we should be paying people properly. They haven't been able to work for 2 years.
Yeah, I get it. And is the idea that, so the state, the park isn't going to be, the new park isn't going to be open for the summer solstice date. So you're going to have a stage and stuff like that, right?
There's not going to be a stage. These are not musical events.
There's just $10,000 and no music?
We're not exactly certain. We're working on it.
I just have a hard time like looking at these budgets with not knowing sort of what that money is going to. I know that we're kind of throwing stuff out in the air and giving ideas, but with no music and stuff, it just seems like it's a heavy amount on those nights. That's all.
There's entertainment, but there's not a stage. It's not the traditional stage
for solstice. Yeah.
For solstice, yeah. And same for Hoedown. If you want, we can pull up some of the way we broke it out. Would that be helpful?
I don't think I want to spend the time right now to look at it, but these are the questions that I'm asking just because of what we're seeing on the screen. Yeah, I do think that that's a lot of money, but if we see an outcome on it, then that's great.
Yeah.
And we may not end up spending the full amount. We are still, I think we can come back with a kind of a clearer idea once we have done a little bit more research on programming.
Yeah. Okay. That's good points though. This is what we need. This is why we're here. We need to discuss these items.
I guess what we really need to know is kind of like, what's the maximum spend that the BIA wants to do on these events?
So while you guys have been chatting, I found the balance sheet that Sarah has sent all of us today. It's in all of your inboxes. So can you see my screen? I've just put it up.
Yeah.
Can you see it? Yes.
We got a balance of 85.
So we have money. So we can spend some of this money now. I think Jen makes a fair point. You know, I really do.
Yeah, I'm not against spending the money. I just hope it's just in the right ways, right?
I think the other thing is these events have to really help the businesses as well. So all of these
Right.
events are very focused on making sure there's a sidewalk sale component, there's a shopping component, which we didn't do as much in Creemore Nights either.
Yeah.
So with the budget that we proposed for the Creemore Nights, I think what we were kind of suggesting the BIA spend was 6,000, and with our current proposal, you know, we're kind of in and around the same range with this proposal, a little bit less as it currently sits, but who knows? I think it would be helpful if we kind of know what our maximum spend out of the BIA coffers should be.
Does anyone want to put a number up about what they would be comfortable spending based on what we have in our bank account, basically?
And also knowing that no levy has been deposited at this point.
Jen, did you want to throw out a number? I mean, it doesn't have to be final, just sort of tell us what you're thinking.
I don't know, like 10 to 15 maybe, like.
Yeah. Heather, do you have an idea of what you'd like to see spend?
Specifically
the BIA portion, like how much would the BIA be willing to put into sort of these sort of slate of 4 events as they sit?
the 4, yeah. I mean, is Jen suggesting 10 to 15 for 4?
Yes, I think so.
Out of the BIA coffer. So we'd also be looking for sponsorships, community stuff.
Right. Oh, I'd be aligned with that. Same thing.
Linda, do you have any thoughts? Or John?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think after the very quiet past 2 years, it's if the money's there, why shouldn't we use it?
Okay.
It would be nice to kind of kickstart things again, for sure. I think we need that.
Okay. Anybody else? No? We're looking at who else is here. Amanda, did you have any thoughts? I know you're not on the board, but you're welcome to chime in.
No, I'm good. I would be aligned with what you guys are suggesting. I do just want to make a comment though, and I know Councillor Broderick's on the line, but if there was a proposal going to EDAC, which is the Economic Development Action Committee, their next meeting is on May 3rd. So your Creemore BIA board may want to start making some decisions tonight or very, very quickly so that you can get onto the agenda for EDAC meeting in May. And then expect about a 2 to 3 week turnaround time in order to make a presentation to council, which EDAC would do on your behalf, similar to what happened with a similar community group on Monday night. So okay. I don't want to muddy the waters. That's probably outside of the BIA comment, but since you're talking money, you might just want to keep those timelines in mind moving forward.
I think that's a valid point, because if we don't know what our final budget is until the end of May, that might be very late for programming to make any commitments if they're depending on that sort of money for that.
I mean, the nice thing is we can get started with May with June and then roll from there with a bit of time to work on September. But knowing that we have a base budget that is really helpful.
Mm-hmm. I think as well, I would agree. Like, I know we said 5,000, but I would be comfortable putting at least 15 in.
What that does is it buffers us if we're not able to find the money from the community or the EDC, then we have a little bit more to play with.
I think so. And if there's any other events, I don't know of any other events that we're planning on between now and, I mean, obviously at the holiday season, you know, we could have a shopping event and then the Santa Claus parade, but other than that, we don't have any other events. So I'm not sure where else we would want to spend money this year, other than that at this point. Okay. So how do we work on this, Sarah? Do we put together tonight a proposal to use up to $15,000, if you guys are comfortable with that number, from the BIA, not reserve, but
Retained earnings.
earnings? Yeah. Do we put a motion together for that? Is that how this works?
Yeah, we would put it together a motion sort of approving our concept. If people want further details, more programming before it's fully approved, you know, I'm comfortable with that. If, you know, if that's something that you guys want to see before we have the right to start spending money, but if we kind of get an approval in principle for that 15 and everybody likes the plan, then we can really start to drill down and get it making sense.
Yep. Okay. That sounds good. So Sarah, why don't you put the motion together?
Yeah, why don't you put the motion together?
So the motion would be it resolved that the Creemore BIA approves the plan as presented by the Creemore Events Committee 2022 with a financial commitment of up to $15,000.
Perfect. Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Sorry,
I can't see anybody. All I can see is your
can't see
screen.
anybody because I'm
Just
sharing my
me.
screen. Jen, okay.
Yeah.
And then all in favor? I have to try and look and see your
Yeah.
hands. Okay, so that's great. So the motion is passed. I can see all your hands. Thanks. Okay, so that's a big deal. So I hope you guys are all on board with this new events. I know we had sort of a planning meeting where we all talked about it a little bit. So I'm hoping that you're excited about it because it's something new. It's something we haven't done before. I think it'll be really fun. I think it'll be fun for the community and for the businesses. And I think it's something that's very achievable for us to do, 4 events as opposed to the 9. So is there anything else to talk about for summer event planning before we move on to July 1st? So moving right along with the other part of July 1st is the bike parade. And Jen has stepped forward to offer to coordinate the bike parade on behalf of the BIA. Thank you, Jen. Do we need to make a motion for that to say that Jen will be the organizer of the bike parade? I think we should.
Yeah, we should. That's smart.
So be it resolved that Jen Yake has agreed to organize the July 1st, 2022 bike parade. I don't think there's a budget involved in that.
No. I spoke to Norm, and everything will be promoted through the Legion. Okay. So everything that we do, the marketing is going to be part of their programming, unless we choose to do additional stuff. But that's the intention. That's how it's been done in the past. So unless anybody knows of a way to improve it, I think we could just keep it like that.
Perfect. Do we have a seconder for the motion for the bike parade as Jen is organizer? Thanks, Linda. All in favor of Jen organizing? Perfect. Thank you. Motion carried. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jen, for stepping up. Public participation. I don't think, is Sarah still with us?
I am. I'm here.
Oh, do we have anyone?
Oh, the other Sarah?
Yeah, the other Sarah from Township. I
Yes,
don't think we
I'm
have
still
anyone.
here.
But do we have anyone for public participation? I don't think we do.
I didn't receive anything, no.
Okay. So great. So then we're into the financial report, which, funny enough, if you can still see my screen, I think it's still there.
I also have the P&L for the year to date.
Okay, I can also find that. So we've all had a good chance to look at this. I'll find that. If Sarah, you want to start talking about anything, I don't know.
We haven't really spent much money yet. Just the expected items, things I have to continue to follow up on. I was hoping Kayla would be here. Sorry, Sarah. We love having you too. But I need to follow up again with Emmy. I still haven't heard anything about closing out last year. I've sent a couple emails and I just don't know what my next steps are. So I'll do that again. And also getting the HST rebate. I'll have to follow up with that. Usually we also just kind of magically receive our levy, which I haven't received yet. So the income to date is a general, donation, which will, some of that is from Creemore Springs Brewery. Some of that is part of the Take a Seat program. Membership is to the OBIAA. Postal Service is self-explanatory. The $200 for marketing is actually a carryover from 2021, and a Christmas $33.90 is the amount that we paid to clean Santa's suit. The garbage bin, garbage labor is self-explanatory. I am a little bit confused why the garbage bin. The reason it's so low right now is because we had a credit from 2021, so we didn't have to pay the whole amount. So we're on track in terms of our spending, and again, that $15,000 that's our net at this point, it does not include any of our levy. So there's $20,000 in levy that will be coming to us, and we have this $15,000. So that's where we sit for the year right now.
Great. Thank you for preparing that. Questions about the financial report or comments? No? Thanks, Sarah. Marketing. Okay. Is there anybody who wants to take over marketing for the BIA? Anybody here? Like, I'm going to hear crickets soon. I just don't think I can continue to do it. Jackie has had to leave earlier, but she had stepped forward to say that she's looking to do to work on the content for the website. I know she's really keen to work on it because, you know, our website isn't very functioning as it should, and we need to look at it certainly in light of getting all these events and getting all the new businesses and all that on board. Linda and I had a meeting today with Cavi from the Village Green, who's one of the, I don't know her exact position name, executive directors, one of the directors, I suppose, of the Village Green. And we started having a conversation, and I'll just sort of throw it out here because it's a very high level, about starting to coordinate some of these ideas in marketing between the Village Green and us, and looking at the website together. And instead of having all these different websites in town, starting to put maybe one big website together from a tourist perspective, because tourists don't really realize if they're coming to the Village Green to see a concert or the market or whatever, or they're coming to the BIA, they don't often know the difference between the groups, or should they care, really. They're just coming for an experience in Creemore. So it might start to make sense that we start to combine our marketing efforts with them. And I wanted to sort of throw that out there and see if you guys had any thoughts about, you know, starting to combine. It's at a very high level that we just started to sort of brainstorm some ideas. Nothing's set in stone, nothing's agreed upon. It was just like, does it make sense for us to keep our website as it is, or should we start to do the Experience Creemore website and open it up for the Village Green folks to also be part of that?
Lori, if you go back to sort of the initial conversations with the foundation, the marketing of the downtown core was very important to the community. So it does make a lot of sense if they have somebody on staff that is able to do things like maintain a community calendar, ensure that the content's up to date, include content that isn't just BIA based, but community based. I think there's a ton of value there. So I think it's a fantastic idea if they could work a general tourism or business forward website into their operations. That's what I'd like to see.
That's the thinking. It's about the experience when you come into town. So it's about whether there's an event experience, whether it's a shopping experience, whether it's services, eating, dining. all these different experiences. So, and again, we just had a brainstorming session. It's nowhere near anywhere where we're going to be, offloading anything to anybody just yet. But I think it makes sense for us to start thinking in these ways, especially with their resources and in a different space than ours are, and to just sort of see like that program coordinator could help us, and also some of the the funds that they have available to do this as well. So that's where marketing kind of took a really interesting conversation today, because we started out talking about event marketing and this particular marketing programs for the summer, and how they could sort of work with us on different things. And anyway, we did spend a fair amount of time on the website. Was there anything I missed, Linda, that you wanted to kind of chime in on that? You were part of that meeting this morning.
No, you've pretty much covered it.
Yeah, so I just sort of wanted to throw that up. I think it's interesting. I'll give you a better update once we've had more time to actually explore, and what we can do and how we can work on it. I think there's some really interesting opportunities out there that we can do this, and also really use the Discover Clearview website as well, because they have so many good resources. I spent quite a lot of time on there this morning thinking about how we could sort of, go out to Clearview website where it makes sense for nature trails and all this kind of great stuff that they have on there, and then be able to come back for our events or whatever it is. So I don't know. So just looking at how we kind of use all of the assets that we have within the communities and how we are more efficient in the way we use them. Because certainly for us, marketing is really hard to keep up with right now. So I would appreciate any help with marketing from the Village Green folks. So that's marketing. That's where we're at. New business. Amanda, you've been such a trooper. You've been sitting through this meeting. Thank you so much. I know it's been going on a little longer probably than we expected. There's a lot going on. Would you like to give us an update on the Clearview Tourism and Staycation program that you're working with?
Sure. Thanks very much, Lori. Please excuse me. I've been talking in interviews all day, so I'm losing my voice. But can you give me the ability to share screen? It's just that your screen's open right now, Lori.
Oh, yep. There you go.
Yep.
Sorry.
Perfect.
Got it.
So I actually, oh, did I just freeze? Hello, there we go.
We're there, yeah.
There we go. Excellent. So I just put together just two quick slides, and your discussion that you just had about marketing is a great segue, because I wanted to first just give a quick update on our tourism and events initiatives as part of the Parks, Rec, and Culture Department. And the biggest thing that we are getting feedback on is centralizing the events in a one local place. So interestingly, I've been talking to lots of other community groups, including the Village Green and many others, who are looking for a centralized events calendar. And my response to them, as well as groups in Stayner and in Duntroon, is that we have an events calendar, and over the last couple of years, it's become more and more popular and more relevant, which I think is the key. So when you go to discoverclearview.ca/events, it drives you straight to the events calendar, where for the most part, people can submit their own events to populate. So groups like the Minto Shriners, for example, they're really good. They stay on top of submitting their own events. But I also take the initiative to submit events on behalf of the partners that we work extremely closely with. Either way, whether people choose to submit their own event or they just reach out to me directly, we try to keep it so that you just have one simple step. Our summer students manage the email address events@clearview.ca. So any event listing that wants to be put up, you can just email the event students and they'll work directly with whoever the organizer is to make sure that the information is updated. That's providing, of course, that behind the scenes, myself and our tourism and culture assistant, Lily, haven't already done the updates. So even right now, if you were to jump online, you'll see that most of April into May and the start of June is already being populated. We tend to only populate the events calendar about 3 months at a time. So then that way we have the most accurate information. If I had kind of relied on, let's say the Creemore Nights info way back in January and February, we would have had to delete all that information. So it's better to have the most confirmed and most accurate info. So my goal to you guys, or what I really want to just stress to the BIA and to your listeners and board members, is that if we can centralize events so that it's all in one location, every time our QR code goes out, it drives people to the events calendar. Anytime you are hosting events, if it's linked back, it's just that consistent messaging so that we don't have these outdated posts from the past. The other cool thing is Discover Clearview's calendar has an expiry date. So every 9 months, that information gets not even archived, it gets completely deleted. So then people who are like searching on the deep web and they're really getting into like page 3 of a Google search doesn't come up with old information. So that's kind of a couple of the other advantages. The last point just on the events calendar is we're going to continue to use the events calendar to promote business opportunities and training. So again, one of the big feedback that we heard from businesses is that there's too many emails that get circulated and there's not enough information about what training is available, what's kind of free, what grant deadlines are available or funding deadlines. By putting all of that on the events calendar, I hope that people can just go there as like a one-stop shop. So I just wanted to highlight the events calendar first. I thought it was really interesting that that was kind of how your conversation was going tonight. Just a couple other tourism marketing items, just to make sure everybody's aware. The Clearview Activity Guide in partnership with the Creemore Echo did get distributed this year for the spring-summer edition. So that's approximately 9,000 copies. And we have our second distribution planned for the early part of September. So we're right back on track to doing that twice a year. They get mailed out to just about 7,000 residents in Clearview. And then the remaining 2,000 copies are distributed through our bed and breakfasts. We pay for the 400 corridor distribution. It gets sent out to the Ontario Travel Centres. Our partners with South Georgian Bay Tourism and Grey County Tourism also take packages or our activity guides as well. We did just got in my hot hands last week our signature events rack card. So that's about the top 10, top 12 events that we promote. We have 10,000 units that are printed and are distributed. All of our signature events on Monday night, the funding was allotted or allocated by council. And with that, those events also get radio advertising, they get boosted social media posts. They're part of our signature Saturdays series, which is on social media. The signature events get access to our tourism team. They're required to submit an economic impact report. There's some extra marketing initiatives, things like that. So I think most of you are very familiar with the program at this point. Definitely the consistency and the sustainability of events is one thing that separates our signature events component from the other community initiatives or community events that happen. The next item that we're really pleased to return is our Fresh from Clearview Farmers Market program. So with that, we produce 4,000 units of magnets, and they get mailed out with water bills in May and in June. We also have our banner program that goes across downtown Creemore and downtown Stayner to promote the 3 farmers markets. There is a social media blitz that goes along with that. We're hoping to do some more advertising on the radio stations and in print, and that's just in partnership with Experience Simcoe County as part of their agritourism program. Just want to also highlight, because my voice is kind of fading, the reason why that is because we've been doing interviews all week. So once again, we'll be hiring our tourism students. So they'll be in position from May until the end of August. I was really lucky this year to get a 5th student. So in the past, I only had 4 students, but because of the number of events that are returning and the fact that there are now multiple events happening on the same weekend, we were being spread too thin. Even I was working events. Lily was working events, which is great. We love working them, but 6 o'clock in the morning, puffing tables. You guys know how hectic that can be. So we were really fortunate that we have 5 students. Our tourism team will be responsible for all the event equipment, the supplies. We'll open the information center up in Stainer, and then also have our info booths at all the signature events. And hopefully all of these events that you were talking about tonight as part of your summer programming, even if you're not a signature event, many of our partners still get access to our tourism students and to all our event equipment. And then the last component, as a quick update, is just leveraging partnerships. And I know I've talked to the BIA a lot about this in the past. We use our funding, which is not very much money at all. And I go out and I really just try to leverage that grants with Experience Simcoe County, with RTO 7, and with the South Georgian Bay Tourism marketing dollars. Experience Simcoe County is now closed for their grant program, but RTO 7 just released theirs last week. So if you go onto rto7.ca, you'll see their partnership program. And that's where you can leverage your own marketing dollars for things like social media, the photography, some of the digital advertising, using the AVAR group, which is a marketing agency. They've streamlined the process. I was explaining this to Lori and Sarah, that a lot of the feedback they got early on in the program was that it was too cumbersome and there were too many requirements for reporting. And what RTO 7 has done is really streamline that. And trust me, so many groups have taken advantage of it. So I know that they've made improvements, and you don't need to be a grant expert. But of course, as always, we are here to help. So if you are going to go down that path and look at any of those funding opportunities or partnerships with South Georgian Bay, Experience Simcoe County, or RTO 7, just reach out to me and I'll make sure that you can leverage those partnerships and maximize the amount of programs that you are going to be offering. So that's kind of just a really high level of what we're doing. One of the other reasons I wanted to just present to the BIA is just to make everybody aware of the staycation tax credit. This is a new tax credit that is available to individuals in Ontario who are booking accommodations, who pay, the accommodation provider must pay HST, so provincial and GST sales tax, in order to get the staycation tax credit for next year's income tax season. So that's one of the ways that the provincial government is trying to encourage more Ontarians to stay in Ontario, to visit destinations that they may not otherwise go to. And the biggest thing is to get those heads in beds. So getting those people to stay overnight and extending the stay in these destinations. And I think that Creemore, the village of Creemore, Clearview Township, and as part of South Georgian Bay, we are in such an amazing position to be able to attract overnight visitors to our area so that they can experience everything we have to offer on multiple days, as opposed to what traditionally we always promoted was those day trippers, drive-through traffic, trying to get people to stop in Creemore and stop in Clearview before going to their next destination. I think that this year, based on your programming and the availability of the tax credit and knowing that there's BIA, B&Bs within your BIA district, that you're perfectly positioned to utilize the staycation tax credit promotions to your advantage. So we've posted all the resources on the discoverclearview.ca website. It's right on the homepage under accommodations. I've bumped that out as a feature so that when visitors and even our own locals are looking for information, when they click on it, it's the very top section of our accommodations page. And then in addition to that, as I was explaining earlier to Lori and to Sarah in a phone call, I wanted to just highlight again the webinar opportunity. So a free training program that's coming up on April 25th. And it is about creating new ways to promote the staycation tax credit by packaging and through partnerships that businesses and retailers and tourism operators can do to package or to partner up with one of the bed and breakfasts, either within our area, so within the actual Clearview boundaries, or furthermore, start to branch out and make connections with some of the other hotel and accommodation providers outside of the region. What a great opportunity it would be to have guests who may be staying outside of the area, but they have a package that brings them into the village of Creemore so that they can taste and savor and experience everything the village has to offer, even if we don't have the large scale hotels that a typical family or maybe a girls getaway or something like that is looking for. So the training session that's coming up in a few weeks is really about listening to some experts, industry experts, so Kim Clark from RTO7, as well as hearing from, oh shoot, the gentleman's name escapes me. He's gonna hate me now too. Guy is his first name, from Craig Hurst Bed and Breakfast. Sorry, that's embarrassing. I can't remember his name. But listening to some industry experts on how to create those packages and how to be successful and to inspire those off-season visitations. So again, what I love about what Creemore BIA is planning for this year is that you're really capturing those two key parts of the summer. So the pre-summer with your solstice event, and then the equinox at the end as a gentle reminder to come back to Creemore and to continue to visit. I think this would be a really great opportunity to hear about how you can partner with an accommodation provider to make this a wholesome package so that the overnight stay can include a visit, maybe a dining and drinking experience, a unique shopping experience, a way to get those visitors to come and stay in Creemore. So I guess one of the other reasons that I wanted to bring this forward is often when you hear of the webinars, you might not think it applies to your business. And I just think that in this case, the staycation tax credit is for the accommodators, but we want to make sure that there is a package component so that we're increasing the experience that really not only what Clearview can offer, but what the village of Creemore can offer for people spending the night. So those are just some of the highlights, and I really appreciate the time. I'm going to just cut my presentation a bit short because I don't want to take much longer, but as always, I'm happy to be a resource, and I really look forward to working with you guys and with all the businesses in the future. Obviously, at any point, if you have questions or you want to know more about what we're doing at the township, don't ever hesitate. Just shoot me an email or send me a text message, and I'll try to give you guys as much accurate information. And I hope that there's some more businesses that can participate on Monday, April 25th. So happy to answer any questions, Lori.
Thank you, Amanda. That's really helpful, and so helpful for me. I know when we were talking about it the other day that I didn't realize that you could. So imagine that we could partner, or a business here could partner with a hotel in Collingwood or a Blue Mountain. You know what I mean? So that's kind of interesting as well. Not only just our B&Bs, but if you wanted to go further afield. So the idea of partnering outside of our small community, I think, is very interesting. So certainly April 25th is a good seminar if anybody wants to be part of that. And it doesn't have to be BIA. This could be like individual businesses. So if you want to do some sort of a little package that you can put together for your event or your business, then that's what's so interesting about this program. So thanks, Amanda. It really is key to look at some of these programs that you're working on. Okay, cool. Anybody else have any questions for Amanda before we let her escape? Okay. Okay, well, we know where to find you. So thank you, Amanda. You've been awesome to stay with us all night, and we really value your input as well. And thank you so much for taking the time with me and Sarah this week. I think both Sarah and I said afterwards how helpful that was in our thinking and just realizing what you guys are doing, and also about the website as well. So we will definitely continue those conversations and how we can work together with Clearview Township on the website.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And I am going to leave the meeting now. I appreciate it, but the next part of your agenda is probably not applicable, and I got to work on my voice. So thank you, and good night, everyone. It's lovely to see you all, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay, well, so that leads us to really our last section of the agenda, which is in-person meetings. So I'm not sure if Sarah from the township is prepared to speak, but I did read the email today that last night at council, there was a motion passed that now we can look into in-person meetings, or we can keep our meetings on Zoom. So we have a choice to make. They passed it. I understand council is going to a hybrid model where they will be putting up some sort of barriers, I believe, and also providing Zoom, I think, if I understood that correctly. So I wanted to sort of find out from you guys, as you are the board, what you prefer to do, whether you want to do in-person meetings or you would prefer to stick with the Zoom model. I know Jackie's not here, obviously, with somebody who lives sort of an hour and a half away from our community now, it's harder for her possibly to come in for meetings. But other than that, I wanted to hear from you guys just quickly before we go, because I'm tired too.
No, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I saw you yawning. I'm like, I'm tired. I get it.
I'm so tired.
Anybody, any thoughts? Zoom?
I really hate Zoom, but I do think, like, I think of like Heather, and I think of Mylin, and I think of Jackie, and I just, you know, I would, if this removes the barrier to their attendance, it makes sense to keep doing it. What do you think, Heather? Like, you're a person that would have driven or had to stay after work, or
I haven't stopped.
What do you think?
Is there any opportunity to start the meetings before 7? Because I would do in person if they started before 7, like even 6. But the 7 o'clock to 9:30 business is where it doesn't matter where I am. I'm not happy by 9:30. If you can see that, I want to go to bed. Like
everyone's sort of doing this, and they're getting
you
further
got
away.
me until about 8:30. But so if we did like 6 o'clock, I'm like, I'll bring dinner for everybody. I don't care.
We do have a lot to go through, so I think that I'm sorry that the meeting is long tonight. I know last month we only did an hour, but more and more we have so much stuff to discuss.
We are active, and we do. I mean, going past 9 o'clock is normal unless Jackie's in charge. But
I would be open to moving it to 5 or 5:30. Jen, you finish at the pharmacy at 5:30. What do you all think? I would be open to that because I agree. I'm
6 or 6:15. Like sometimes I can't get out of there because of people. So
yeah. The other thing is we move in the morning. Would it be easier to do?
I would take a morning. I like Google BIA meetings, and I'm like, they're all at 9 o'clock a.m.
Oh, really?
I would do it 8 so people can do their businesses at 10, but then we have a timeline we can stop at.
The only days I can do is like a Monday or Wednesday. I have coverage usually through the day or an earlier meeting.
And I'd be happy to do it in person at the station or whatever. I don't know. Again, some people maybe they don't have that option for their business because they might be the only person that's opening, but I would do morning, or I'd like to see an early evening one that's even 6 o'clock.
Yeah. I mean, the nice thing is that we've had this meeting every second Tuesday for years. So it's kind of nice that everybody remembers it that way. So I'm afraid that, already it's hard I send you guys a reminder text because I know it's hard to remember because there's so many other things going on. So I hate to kind of change our rhythm of having.
I'm okay with every other Tuesday.
Or the second Tuesday, you mean?
Or sorry, not every other Tuesday. I take that back. This is on recording.
Say, Heather.
No.
I won't be meeting you there, but
second Tuesday of the month.
Well, does it make sense to try 6? I know, Jen, you might have to come a little later by the time you end up closing. But
hard on the nights where Brian is working. That's the only stickler, because then I have the kids, so I'm getting them food.
Bring them along.
That doesn't happen all the time.
Oh, and we're not allowed to do hybrid, right? Because I remember when we were in person, we weren't allowed to call in to be qualified for quorum. Is that?
Yeah, but that's old. I mean, that I'm sure everything's on the
That's
table.
like pre-pandemic.
John, can we do hybrid? John, we can do hybrid.
Not
If
sure.
we had the technology to do hybrid, I don't see why we couldn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure at this time if that's available for committees, but I think Kayla will have a better idea and more of an update for you exactly what those terms are. As far as I understand right now, it's just either in person or virtual.
I also, if we do have the option, I do have the technology that I could host.
As long as it's not procedurally a problem. Got it.
We haven't seen more than 10 people in 10 years or 2 years. So
it might help people like Jen and Malin who sometimes have to be home for their families to be able to Zoom in to certain nights versus being in person. But then having the option of being in person would be kind of nice for those of us in town maybe too. So I think a hybrid model for us is what's probably going to work the best because again, in the winter, Heather, I know there's been some pretty bad nights that you've had to drive home from BIA meetings.
Or I don't even make it into Creemore.
Yeah. So that's another thought. Okay, so where are we landing on this? I know we're all kind of getting tired.
Well, we want to find out if we can do hybrid, if it's an option, and then we just got to decide if we can do a morning meeting or a 6 p.m. meeting, or we stay the same.
Okay, so maybe what we'll do is we'll ask Kayla and Sarah also what our options are. See if we can host it at the brewery if you have the capability to do a hybrid model, and then we'll just we'll update you through email. How's that? Because I don't know if we're in a position to really make that decision, not having all the details.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to make sure that we can get Mylin, that we can get Jackie. Those voices are so important. Like, so if being on Zoom makes it possible, as much as I hate it, I think we should keep doing it that way.
Yeah, I feel the same. Yeah. And even just those of us who, have kids that need to be at home. I get it.
We just want to be sitting at the couch instead of, on one of those awful chairs at the station.
I mean, yeah, true. Yeah. Okay. So let's just leave it. Our next meeting for now will be on Zoom. How about that? And then we'll see if Kayla if we're able to do something else like a hybrid, then we'll make adjustments. But for now, we'll just keep it to Zoom. John, do you have a comment?
Yeah, just speaking of the next meeting, I noticed in the
minutes.
Yeah, the minutes. It was at May the 9th. May the 9th is a Monday. I think it should have been May the 10th.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. So, yep. Thank you for that. So when Kayla watches this, poor Kayla has to sit through all this. When she watches this next week to make the notes, we'll make sure she changes that to May the 10th. Thank you for noticing. Okay, great. Okay, so like I said, if you guys are okay, we'll just keep it to Zoom so that Kayla can kind of plan it for the next meeting. And then we have a month. Lots of things could change. And then we'll find out where we're going and we'll send emails around. Does that sound good? We'll try and change the time though.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all kind of thinking it's late. All right, so with that, unless there's any other comments or concerns you guys want to raise, thanks for all your attention. I appreciate you guys sticking it through to the end tonight. Somebody want to make a motion for adjournment? Everybody's always so excited about that one. Yeah, go ahead. Be it resolved that the Creemore BA board hereby be adjourned at 9:23 p.m. And Linda, you're making the motion, and Jen, you're seconding it. Thank you. All in favor? Great. Wonderful. Thanks so much, everyone. I'm sorry it's so late. I appreciate all your efforts, though. It's a lot to go through.